So now we're going to talk about the letter E. It sounds like Sesame Street show. Okay, so we have this chart, and it says, well, what happens if we keep changing n? So it's very similar to our compound interest formula. So here's the compound interest formula. No, it's not. R over n to the nt. Okay, that's our compound interest formula. But now we're looking at this. They're saying, well, I wish I wouldn't have used A, but I'm going to write it out so you can see it. It's a little blurry on the screen here. But what if we don't worry about the principal, don't worry about the interest rate or how long you're leaving it in, but let's just focus on what happens when n keeps changing. So as n gets larger and larger, what's going to happen to that value? So they start with A of 1, so they're putting a 1 in for everything, and they get $2. And then they put a 2 in, A of 2. And they're doing this on a calculator, and they get $2.25. And then they do A of 4. So right there. So they're saying, okay, annually, semi-annually, quarterly. Now we're going to just keep raising, how many times we're compounding it? Monthly, yearly, or daily, hourly, once every minute, once every second. Okay, so look at those numbers. What's happening? We started out at $2 and $2.25, $2.44, $2.61, $2.71, and there's more decimal part here. It keeps going on, right? Now it's $2.71, $8.127, $2.71, $8.279, $2.71, $8.2. Okay. So you get the idea what's happening here. It's increasing a little more, but it's approaching a limit, and we usually approximate E, like if somebody says, hey, what's E approximately equal to? It's 2.72 is the normal approximation we use. So E is an irrational number, kind of like pi, just goes on and on and on. A decimal that goes on and on and on. Our calculator has a button that will give it to us. We'll talk about that in a second. So it's another irrational number that we have. And it represents this idea of what happens as n gets larger and larger in that formula that we had. I'll scroll up. In that formula right there. Well, it starts to approach a limit of about 2.72. Okay, so now on your calculator, so if you have to have a scientific calculator, somewhere there should be an E to the X button. Now on my calculator, it's right above the LN button. Yours might not be above the LN button, but somewhere on your calculator you have an E, and it probably has an exponent on it, E to the X button. All right, so let's clear our calculator out. Let's get the E to the X button. So on my calculator, it shows E to the exponent of, and it opens a parenthesis. So if I want to know what's the value of E, I'm just going to raise it to the first power. So put a 1 in and close the parenthesis, hit enter, and it shows me 2.7182818828, I think is what it has. Yeah, that's what I have. Okay, that's what my calculator is showing. And you can see, it's about 2.72. So we're going to be using that E button, though, to get accurate calculations. Okay, just like you would use a pi button. If you don't want to round off pi, you'd use the pi button because your calculator knows what it is. Okay, so a new button on our calculator, not that, this is the new button that we're going to be using. And we'll show you how we use it in the next video.